Welcome back to another episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Jones, the Bluff City Cowboy, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. And we are continuing our NFL draft coverage by giving you guys what we think are the top 5 positions of need for the Dallas Cowboys going into the draft. And after we talk about those top 5 positions of need, I will give you what I have as the top 5 prospects at those positions. So we're going to go over the top 5 positions of need, and we're going to go over the top 5 prospects at those positions. So as you guys know, this is an interactive show. Thank you guys to everybody who's joining. I see we got the DC4L Facebook group starting to roll in pretty quick. So thank you guys for joining us so far tonight. If you're watching the DC4L, make sure you hit that like button. We are fueled by Fifth Quarter Nation, so hit that like button, show us your engagement. For those of you who are not watching from the DC4L Facebook group, make sure that you check it out. It's a safe space for Cowboys fans. It's a very interactive group. There's a lot of conversations, a lot of very knowledgeable fans. There's also prizes, giveaways, things of that nature. So if you just want to come in and join in the conversation, you're more than welcome to do that. But if you want a chance to win some prizes and trivia questions, things like that, or buy memorabilia, make sure you go to the DC4L Facebook group, hit that join button, watch us every Wednesday night on the Fifth Quarter Podcast. So as you guys can see, I'm starting a little bit early tonight. Normally we start at 8:30, but we didn't have Bible study tonight, so I decided to go ahead and kick things off early. We're going to get out of here pretty quick. As you know, I don't like to do long, drawn-out shows. I like to give you guys my content and then let you guys have the rest of your night to enjoy other podcasters or just enjoy whatever you like to do. So let's go ahead. Let's get into it. For those of you watching from DC4L Facebook group, we also have a YouTube channel. So if you go over to YouTube, type in DC4L, hit that subscribe button. Also, you can find me personally at Bluff City Cowboys. If you guys could take a second to go over hit that subscribe button as well, I would really appreciate it. The co-owner of the group, Amanda Foster, has already promised that if both of our pages hit 1,000, she will give away a signed NFL helmet and a jersey. So if you guys want a chance to win an autographed jersey and an autographed helmet, go over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, help us on our path to 1,000 subscribers. And once again, this show is fueled by Fifth Quarter Nation. So for those of you who are watching, be sure to get in the comments. Let me know who you are, where you're from, how long you've been a Cowboys fan, or if you have any questions or comments about the NFL in general, the Dallas Cowboys, or the NFL draft, be sure to get in the comments. And we're going to have a lot to discuss tonight. So if you have some thoughts on the topics that I have chosen to discuss, let me know that as well. Again, I don't hold you guys long. We'll probably be out of here in less than an hour. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. I see those views are still going up. For those of you who just joined, take a second, hit that like button. Let's get those likes to match those views. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. The topic tonight is top 5 positions of need for the Dallas Cowboys, as well as the top 5 draft prospects at those positions. So before we get into the positions, I want to give you guys a little bit of insight on how I determined my criteria for top 5 positions of need. So without thinking about trying to lock in on a certain person, this is what I looked at when I looked at the roster. First of all, I looked at the returning starters. Did the starters from last year return, or do we have new guys who we have to project as potential starters? Second of all, thank you, Joe Babineau. Appreciate you joining us. Looks like a new name, so thank you for joining the DC4L Facebook group, as well as joining us tonight for the show. All right, next up, not only did I look at the returning starters, I looked at the production of the returning players. So you will see in a minute, there are certain positions, the backups, they don't have a lot of experience. Some positions, the starters don't have a lot of experience. So that's definitely a criteria I looked at when I determined positions of need. Also, you got to factor in injury concerns. There are certain players at certain positions who have been susceptible to injuries. Some of these guys we're going to be relying on pretty heavily as the way the roster is constructed right now. So I took that into consideration when I looked at my criteria. I also looked at the free agents that were signed or traded to the team so far this offseason. I looked at the depth of the positions in general. Shouts out to William Wiggins, a longtime viewer. Appreciate you joining us tonight. I looked at the depth at the position. And then lastly, I looked at the experience of the players returning. So not only did I look at the production level of those players, I looked at the level of experience that they had. So I'll go ahead and give you some guys some caveats. Um, Top 5 positions of need, obviously, quarterback is not gonna be a position of need. Um, our quarterback has been here for over 10 years. Um, all of the backups are veterans. Um, Not a lot of injury concerns from the position. I could have put offensive line on here, but I didn't because our entire offensive line is returning. We only have one player on our offensive line that's not under a rookie contract. So we've got a lot of young guys. Everybody has at least a year of experience. We didn't have any free agent signings, but we have depth at every position. Like, I'm confident that if one of our tackles went down, the backups could come in and do just as good of a job. If the center or the guard went down, of course, you can't replace Tyler Smith. Tyler Booker's looking like he's becoming the next great offensive lineman. But the backups that we have in TJ Bass and Matt Hennessy, they're they have several years of experience and they can still come in and perform well. So offensive line is not one of my top 5 positions. Same for defensive lines. Defensive line, veteran. We've shored up the backups with free agency. So defensive line is not one of my positions of need. And then lastly, tight end is not one of my positions of need. If you look at a tight end position, you've got 3 guys. They all have at least 2 years of experience. Pretty much all the guys have had starting experience. And if any one of those 3 guys started, you would still have an average to above average starting tight end. So I'm just giving you guys those caveats. Do not expect to see any of those positions on my list. Now that leaves a couple of positions left. If you've been following along, you can kind of guess where my top 5 positions of need are, but you don't know my order. I see we have William Wiggins joining, and he's put his as linebacker, edge, safety, and cornerback in that order. Interesting. I do have a couple of those, not particularly in that order, but we'll see in a minute. And I'd love to get your thoughts, William Wiggins, as I go through my list. I see we got another regular joining us, Lee Harrison, joining us for the off season. Appreciate you tuning in once again. Also, again, guys, if you want to join the convo, get in the comments. As you can see, I do monitor the comments. So if you put a comment up here, as long as it's not vulgar, I will put it on the screen and I will read your questions and I'll give a shout out. So this is an interactive show. We're fueled by you guys. Don't be afraid to get in those comments. And I see we got those views and the likes matching up. So good job, everybody. Let's get those likes back up. Let's keep those views going up. If you haven't done so already, be sure to share this broadcast. Share it to your personal page. Share it to your favorite Cowboys group. let the people know what we're talking about. Again, the topic of the night is top 5 positions of need for the Cowboys, as well as the top 5 draft prospects at those positions. So let's go ahead, let's get into it, and we'll start off with my 5th position of need. Now, I could have put safety on my list, um, William Wiggins, but I didn't. The reason I didn't is because number 1, I know the fans don't like Malik Hooker, but Malik Hooker is an 8-year vet. He's an above average player. He's not making any Pro Bowls, but he could probably start on half the teams in the NFL and be a capable safety. We just signed 2 safeties. Both of those safeties are experienced. Both of those safeties are not only experienced in the NFL, but they're experienced in our scheme. So our 2 starters and our backup at safety is taken care of. When you look at the other backups, you have Marquise Bell. Marquise Bell has been in the league for 4 years. He started at safety, he started at linebacker. He has a ton of experience. So we have our 2 starters and our 2 backups at the safety position, all veterans with little to no injury concerns, and they've been productive. That's why I did not put safety in my positions of need. And then we got a plethora of Zion Childress, Arenas, guys like that who could fill in as well. But our top 4 are pretty good at that position. So because of that, my 5th position of need, we're going from 5 to 1. So 5th is the lowest, 1 is the highest. My 5th position of need is wide receiver. Now, I know people are going to say you have Lamb and you have Pickens. Why is that a position of need? Well, if you look behind Pickens and Lamb, you pretty much have nothing. I mean, you have Ryan Flanoy, who, while he did fill in very well last year, he's basically a first year, 5th round pick who has 4 weeks of NFL experience. Mingo, I don't think he started more than 2 games his entire career. Then you have a bunch of guys on your practice squad who you hope can step up. And then you have your kick and punt returner, Turpin, who, while he's a good returner, I don't think you can rely on him as an every week starter. So for that reason, I put this as my 5th position of need because our top 2 guys are great, but behind that, you have a ton of question marks. Now, personally, I think Ryan Flanoy is going to take that next step, but if I'm evaluating the roster, there's no guarantee that he will. So I put wide receiver as my 5th position of need. So let's look at who I have as my top 5 wide receivers. William Wiggins says, I'm not going to lie, my dream would be Styles and Messidor, but if we can get Downs, I'm not upset with Downs. Despite everything I just said, if Downs was the pick at 12, I'm still happy because you just dramatically upgraded the safety position over Malik Hooker. And then you can trade Malik Hooker for a 6th round pick and you're still good. So while I don't have safety as a position of need, if you can upgrade with the Downs, I'm all for it. Kurt Whitmer says linebacker, then edge. Keep watching Kurt Whitmer. We'll be going through our top 5, and you can see where we have them at in terms of positions of need. So the 5th position, wide receiver. These are my top 5 receivers. To be honest, I don't think we're in the running to draft any one of these guys because I feel like they're all going to be 1st round picks or early 2nd round picks. But for the sake of the show, I wanted to give you guys my top 5 positions. There's going to be a little bit of controversy on this one because I know everybody loves Carnell Tate from Ohio State. Me personally, I don't know if it's Ohio State bias, but I just don't. When I look at those receivers play in college, If I'm going strictly off what I see, there's a lot about Ohio State wide receivers that I just don't know about. And it's because the team is so loaded. They're always loaded at the skill position. So they're basically just running free. So all he's running is post routes and dig routes and fade routes. All of his routes are 10 yards or above. And they're usually wide open because you have Jeremiah Smith on the opposite side who's getting three people looking at him, and you have an all pro quarterback who can throw it around the field. So because of that, while Carnell Tate looked great in college, I don't know what he is when you have a legitimate corner pressed up against him at the line of scrimmage. Not saying he can't do it. I just didn't see it consistently in college. I didn't see him create separation. I saw separation being provided to him because of the talent level of the team. Now, again, not saying he can't do it. I just didn't see it in college. For that reason, I have Makai Lemon as my number one receiver. He can play outside, he can play inside. He's not a blazer, but he finds a way to get separation. He's extremely shifty. He plays physical. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. He plays just like former USC player Amon-Ra St. Brown with the Lions. To me, that's a good comparison for him. I like receivers that can get separation. It's not necessarily about running downfield 40 yards. You got to get separation on 3rd and 3 when you got to get that first down. And running a 4.2 40 is not going to get you separation on 3rd and 3 because everybody's playing press. He can beat press. He can run great routes. He has strong hands, and he knows how to get himself open. So Makai Lemon is not my number one wide receiver. Again, everything I said about Carnell Tate, he's still my number 2 guy. The talent's there, height, weight, speed. He's more of an outside guy, but I think at the NFL level, he can give you some inside work as well. Number 3 is Jordan Tyson. Now, Jordan Tyson is another one of those guys. He can be a bit of a tweener, but he's a big receiver. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. Great wingspan. He's a young guy. Put up a lot of production at Arizona State. So you can't ignore his talents as my number 3 receiver. Number 4, Omar Cooper. Now, this guy is strictly an inside guy. I think he's 5'10", 200 maybe. 5'10", 5'11". I think he's a primary inside receiver, but I think he can be a very good one. In today's NFL, slot receiver does not necessarily mean you're not a high draft pick. I mean, I got CeeDee Lamb on the screen right here. He's living proof of that. Slot receivers deserve respect as well. And I think that coming into the league with his height, weight, and speed, he can turn out to be a really good slot guy. He reminds me of their receiver that the Packers drafted last year. Can't think of his name off the top of my head, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And then last but not least, we got Denzel Boston. Now, this is your big body receiver, 6'4", 215 pounds. He's a pure X receiver, probably the only pure X receiver on this list. He didn't have a lot of production at Washington, but he got a lot of touchdowns. He had a good yards per catch. When you watch him play, has very strong hands, big wingspan. While I don't think he can be like your go-to X receiver, I think he can be like a Mike Williams or T. Higgins type receiver, where if you put him opposite a guy, he can give a secondary trouble because if you're doubling the other guy, he's talented enough to beat your second best corner. So I really like Denzel Boston in this draft as my fifth receiver. Um, so because I said none of these guys will probably be on our radar, I put in what I would consider a possible draft pick for us. And that possible draft pick is Makai Lemon's running mate out of college at USC, and that's Jacoby Lane. I think he's gonna be a fourth round slash fifth round guy. Another big body guy, 6'4", big wingspan, uh, possession type receiver, fast enough that he can create separation. Um, on this team in particular, like I just talked about with Denzel Boston, if you put Boston opposite a top receiver, I think he's good enough to consistently beat a number two. Well, if you put a guy like Jacoby Lane on this team, I think he's talented enough to beat anybody's wide receiver three. He's going to be at the X every time. And because of the other guys we have, he's going to get a lot of one-on-one coverage. So I really like having a big possession receiver over there to take on that one-on-one coverage. And I think Jacoby Lane will be available on day 3, and he'll be the type of guy that we can look at that can be a good possession guy who can beat one-on-one coverage. So I really like Jacoby Lane as one of our late round picks. He's only 21 years old, so he still has a lot of growing to do. And you bring him in with those traits, you're not relying on him a lot to be the guy. But if heaven forbid, George Pickens decides not to come back until week 6, or we have some injuries, you have a 6'4" possession receiver that runs a 4.4 with a big wingspan, almost 7 feet wingspan, that can get the job done in spurts. William Wiggins says we gotta have more than just 2 wide receivers. Some plays have 5 receivers. I agree, and I think that's why I have this as a position of need. If you go Pickens, Lamb, and Flournoy, there's not another receiver on the team that I consistently trust to go out there and make plays. Derek Robinson says we have Flournoy, who looked very promising his rookie season. We got the fastest man on turf and Turpin. We got the other receiver. Who's the other receiver? You bring that up. That's my point. Flournoy, again, looked promising, but he's a rookie. He started a couple of games. We got to see if he takes that next step in week 2. I mean, season 2. So he probably will, but I would still like to have another talented guy to kind of back him up. While Turpin is fast, he has not proven to consistently be a receiver. He's basically been a gadget guy and a returner. Again, if heaven forbid, yeah, this is great, Derek Robinson. I'm not taking it personal. I'm just answering your question. And this is what this show is for. Great question. Some other fans may have the same question, and if nobody asks, we're not able to talk about it. So keep the dialogue coming. I love the question. I'm just answering. Um, so like I was saying, this is not my number one position of need. This is number 5. I like Lamb. I like Pickens. I like Flournoy, but Flournoy is young. I don't trust Turpin if we needed him to start 5 games. Um, I don't trust Mingo at all. He probably gets cut in training camp. William Wiggins says we still have Holden too. Holden was on the practice squad last year. He didn't get any reps in a real game. So while I like the potential, it's still potential. Does he take the second step? What's the second step for him? Is the second step becoming our 5th wide receiver? Or is the second step um, just becoming our best practice squad guy? I don't know. For those reasons, I think that wide receiver should be a possible position of need. Not the highest position of need, but it should definitely be above other positions like offensive line, tight end, quarterback, etc. But yeah, great question, Derek Robinson. If you got any more, keep them coming. I see we got my guy Jeff joining us, longtime viewer. Appreciate you joining us, Jeff. Um, I am giving Turpin some props, but again, Turpin hasn't proven to consistently give us wide receiver reps. I think we need at least one more guy on this roster who, if Flanoy takes a step back, or if Pickens decides not to come back to week 6, or if Lamb gets injured, we have to have another reliable wide receiver who can come in and be a number 2, number 3. And Derek Robinson, I'm right there with you. One of the reasons why this is my number 5 position of need is because I do not trust Mingo. And Mingo should be our number 3 receiver, but he can barely get off the bench. So yeah, number 5 position of need, wide receiver. I think if we got Jacoby Lane in the 4th or 5th round, you guys will really like him. He reminds me of the receiver that the Texans drafted last year. I think his name was Jalen. I can't think of his last name. It was Jalen something. So yeah, I agree. This is a 4th, 5th round pick, Derek Robinson. It's not a 1st round pick. We got 3 5th round picks. If Jacoby Lane's there at one of those 5th round picks, you run to the board because this is a position of need and we need real receivers. Thank you, Jeff. I have to go back and look up if they're related because his name is Jalen Lane. Jalen Lane. This is Jacoby Lane. That's interesting. Um, Great comments, Jeff. After the draft, if we don't address it, this will be the first thing we talk about in terms of positions of need as we enter the second wave of free agency. And both of these names are at the top of my list. But let's wait till after the draft and then we'll come back to that. All right. So let's go to my number 4 position of need. My number 4 position of need is running back. Now, like I mentioned before, let me go back again real quick. We had a lot of new viewers join us. This is my criteria that I chose to pick my positions of need. Number 1, returning starters. We got a guy who was at a Pro Bowl level. Amazing. Javonte Williams. We just got him re-signed. We checked that box. But let's go through all these other boxes. The production of returning players. We have 3 guys as our backups right now. One is a rookie who missed the entire season with injuries. The other one is a rookie who only played 2 games. And then the third guy is Malik Davis, who's been a borderline practice squad guy for 3 years. That's our backup production. That's concerning to me because you go to the next one with injury concerns. While Javonte Williams had a great season last year and he avoided injury, he has a history of injuries. He had a terrible knee injury his second year, and then he came back with another lower leg injury. So while I'm hoping nothing happens, we do have injury concerns there. And then you talk about the guy we drafted last year from Clemson who missed the entire year with injuries. So we have injury concerns. We didn't bring in anybody else off the streets. We got guys in terms of position depth, but in terms of experience, you have 2 rookies with a combined 2 games of NFL experience, and then you have a guy who's been on the practice squad for 3 years and has maybe played 5 games in the NFL. So because of those reasons, I have running back as a position of need. Let's see. William Wiggins says, I feel you. I honestly feel like Blue is going to step up. As a hopeful Cowboy fan, I do as well. But when I'm being realistic and I'm analyzing the roster, I have to look at it for what it is and not for what I think it'll be. So based off of what it looks like on the roster right now, you have to put running back at a position of need. Because again, heaven forbid, if Javonte Williams gets hurt and misses 6 games, who are you going to rely on to be your running back if the season started tomorrow? Is it going to be Blue, who couldn't smell the field for 14 weeks? Is it gonna be your rookie, the other rookie, who was injured all last year and never got any meaningful snaps in regular season or preseason? Or is it gonna be undersized Malik Davis? While he does have some explosion, he was a career practice squad guy for a reason. We gotta get some more talent in that running back room, at the minimum, to get some competition. Derek Robinson says, "What defensive position do you feel we need most?" Stick with us to the end of the show. We're at our fourth position of need right now. We've got three more positions to go over, and I can go ahead and give you a hint right now. All three of them are defensive. So stick with us, Derek Robinson. So again, I agree, William Wiggins, but we don't know what they are because we have not seen them play an NFL game consistently. So again, these are my top 5 running backs in the draft. Again, the same caveat I'll give you guys at wide receiver, I'll give you at running back. None of these guys are gonna be options for us. I just wanna put it up there so you guys know who my top 5 running backs are in this draft. Number 1, I have Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame. Don't even have to talk about him. You guys seen the tape. You know what he is. He's surefire top 10 pick. Number 2 is his running mate, Jadarian Price. If Jeremiah Love was not on that team, Jadarian Price would probably be a top 15 pick. But because he was limited in terms of his production based off of who he was in the backfield with, he's going to dip a little bit, but he's similar to I just went blank. The running back for the Raiders, who's now with Green Bay. He's similar to him coming out of Alabama, Josh Jacobs. When Josh Jacobs came out of Alabama, he played behind Derrick Henry. And Josh Jacobs was a first round pick because while the snaps were limited, when you saw him on the field, you know what a first round pick looks like when you see it. And that's what Jadarian Price gives you. He has everything except the production, and the production is not his fault. So, height, weight, speed, explosion, he has all of that. So I have Jadarian Price as my number 2 running back. Now, 3, 4, and 5 are usually surprising to most people. Number 3, I have Jonah Coleman out of Washington. Some people have him as a borderline top 5 guy, but for me, I like running backs who are dual threat. This kid can catch out of the backfield. He's explosive. The stats don't really show it in college, but he's an explosive running back. I really like Jonah Coleman out of Washington. I think he's going to be one of those running backs who's a better pro than college player. So definitely pay attention to him. Um, he's kind of a shorter running back, which some people don't like, but I do. I like those Mighty Mouse type running backs. He reminds me of the running back at Tampa Bay right now. Um, Bucky Irvin. He reminds me a lot of Bucky Irvin. He can give you that dual threat, explosive, out of the backfield, can catch the ball. He does it all. I really like Jonah Coleman. Nicholas Singleton is another one of those guys similar to Jonah Coleman. He had a running mate in Penn State who took a lot of reps. But again, when you see a talented running back, you know what it is when you're looking at it, regardless of production. I think Nicholas Singleton is one of those guys, and he can also give you a little bit in the return game. Lastly, I have Mike Washington out of Arkansas. A lot of people have Mike Washington as their number 3 running back. Um, Particularly because he ran a 4.340, and as you know, people fall in love with 40 times this time of year. But if you watch him play, he shows the speed in spurts. He's not a consistent player like that. I would put his comparison as Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert had a really good year in Miami 2 years ago, but outside of that, he's just a backup running back. He runs very upright. He runs stiff. He's the type of guy, if there's a big hole, he can take it to the house. But if he has to do anything to work to get yards, he's gonna pretty much eliminate himself out of the play because he's stiff and he runs tall. He's a big, heavy, open target for defensive players. You said Jonah reminds me of that running back that played for Jacksonville. Let me know how long ago you're talking about. Are you talking about Tank Bigsby? Are you talking about Travis Etienne? Are you going back old school, Maurice Jones-Drew, Fred Taylor? Which Jacksonville running back are you talking about, Jonah? Because if you're talking about Maurice Jones-Drew, I think that's a pretty accurate comparison. Maurice Jones-Drew, kind of one of those Mighty Mouse type backs that has a low center of gravity, and people think um because he's 5'9" that he's small, but he's actually really compact and can lay the boom at 220 pounds. I really like that comparison, Derek Robinson. Jones Drew is a really good one. And I know Jeff is on the line. He knows that's one of my all-time favorite running backs. So, like I said before, the top five, none of these running backs are going to be options for us. All these guys are going to be gone by the end of the second round. But a running back that will be available that I think is a great option for Dallas is Le'Veon Moss from Texas A&M. I think he's probably going to be a seventh round pick. He may even be an undrafted free agent. But if you look at what you have on the team right now, you run a running back who, while he doesn't have the home run speed, he knows how to follow his blocks. If you give him 3 yards, he knows how to turn it into five. If you give him 5 yards, he can turn it into 15. He's not going to be a home run hitter, but he's going to keep the chains moving. He's going to fall forward. And um, yeah, I think if you need another running back to put in your backfield, I think Le'Veon Moss would be a good option. So, William Wiggins, when you say Le'Veon ain't going to last, do you mean it's in terms of he'll get drafted earlier, or you think he has injury concerns? Because if you think if the injury concerns scare you, that is a legitimate concern for him because he did miss quite a few games his last season with an ankle injury. But I love his footwork. Uh, I think he runs behind his pads. It takes more than the arm tackle to bring him down. He's a very physical runner. He doesn't have that home run speed. Now, you said he's gonna get picked. I'm gonna go back to my first statement when you brought that up, William Wiggins. In 2024, he tore his ACL. In 2025, he had an ankle injury that caused him to miss 6 games. Teams are gonna look at those last 2 years and say maybe he's not built to take the physicality of the league. I think he's gonna fall. On top of that, he ran a 4.5 840. Now, for me, in terms of an NFL running back, a 4.5 840 is more than fast enough to be a productive player. But when you're dealing with the underwear Olympics, prospects will coaches will be scared of prospects who don't run low 4.5, high 4.4. Um, you say you've seen some mocks as early as fifth or sixth. I'm pretty sure you have because he does have talent. I think you're probably underestimating the depth of the running back position. Right now, I don't have him inside of my top 10. So unless there's just a huge run on running backs, I think he'll be available in the 6th or 7th round. He could possibly go undrafted. Jeff solving all of our problems, trading for Jalen Wright for a late round pick. If the Dolphins would be up for that, I would be up for it as well, but I don't think they'll do it. To be honest, the way the Dolphins look right now, Jalen Wright might be lined up at wide receiver for them next year. So you never know what's gonna happen there. But if that was an option, I'd definitely do it. All right, so we're at 41 minutes. Let's go ahead and knock out our top 3 positions of need. So, number 3 position, I'm pretty sure everybody has the same top 3. It all just depends on what order you have them in. So, for me, my number 3 position of need is at cornerback. Um, when you talk about the position, we've got a lot of returning starters. Let me just pull up the chart real quick again. I'll just go through this for all of them. So when I go through the cornerback position, we've got some returning starters, so that's a plus. The production of returning players last year was bad, but if you go back to 2024, Deron Bland had a good season before the injury. Um, Kalen Carson played pretty well before the injury. Uh, who else do we have on the team left? I think those are the only two. So Kalen Carson, Deron Bland. That takes us to point 3 injury concerns. Bland has an injury he's probably not going to be recovered from by training camp. Siobhan Revel, he'll probably be back by training camp, but we didn't see much of him last year. Kalen Carson's been in and out of your lineups. Who else do we have? Those are pretty much 3 of your top 5 corners right there. Free agent signings. I really like the Kobe Durant signing. I think he's going to step in and be one of your starters. The Darion Kendrick signing was solid. I think he's a great break glass in case of emergency, 4th, maybe 3rd corner. At that position depth, we have a lot of corners. We don't know what any of them are outside of Kobe Durant. We don't know if Bland's going to be healthy. We all speculate Siobhan Revel's going to return, but we don't know. We don't know what Kalen Carson is. Reddy Stewart is kind of a journeyman guy. I like him. He's a good 4th corner. I could probably say that for every corner on our team except for Bland and Revel. Good 4th corner, good 4th corner, good 4th corner. But our top 3 are not taken care of. So we have some depth issues. And then in terms of experience, Carson doesn't have a lot of experience. Stewart doesn't have a lot of experience. Revel doesn't have any experience. Durant's played a lot. Kendricks has been in the league for a while, but he's been in and out with injuries. Bland has played well, but he's been in and out with injuries. So we got a lot of injury concerns and a lot of question marks beyond our top 2 corners. That's why I have this as my number 3 position of need. It could have gone higher, but some of the other positions, we just don't have any numbers at those positions. At least at cornerback, we got bodies. So these are my top 5 cornerbacks in the draft. Number 1 is Mansour Delane, LSU. I think all around, he's my number 1 corner. He comes from cornerback U, height, weight, speed, great feet, great instincts, great ball skills, all the above. Number 2, this might be surprising to some people, but I have Avion Terrell as my number 2 corner. I see we got Mendoza in the house. Mendoza, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you tuning in. I know a lot of people like McCoy. I like McCoy too. I just can't put my number 2 corner as a guy who did not play last year because of injury. That's just me. A lot of people say, well, go back and look at his 2024 tape. 2024 is 2 years ago. A lot can happen in 2 years. And he's coming off an injury, and we haven't seen him play. So we don't know what or if any of his athleticism got taken away from that injury. I would like to see him on the field before I move him higher, but based off the 2024, I gotta still keep him high on my list. Avion Terrell, I think, is a pure nickel corner, but he's a great nickel corner. Like he could probably start on 75% of the teams right now. If he was on Dallas, you would probably keep Bland outside because Terrell's that good as a nickel. I don't blame you, William Wiggins. I'm going strictly off talent. If I was factoring in injury heavily, he would not be on my list as well. But I'm going off the talent. He did perform in the combine. I mean, he did perform in his pro day, and the stats and the traits were good. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt at number 3. Got Russell Dyer joining us, longtime follower. Also, thank you for joining us tonight. William Wiggins said we could also take Styles in the 7th as a late round picks option. You talking about the brother? Yeah, that's an option. I was going a little bit higher. Let me go through my top 5, and we'll talk about the draft pick. Brandon Sis out of South Carolina, great traits corner, height, weight, speed, kind of long arms. When you think about what you want at the cornerback position, you think about Brandon and what he provides you. Kind of a Sauce Gardner type build, long arms, uh, kind of a leggy, lanky guy, great instincts, good enough ball skills. I think he's going to be a very capable starter. And then, lastly, I got Colton Hood at Tennessee as my number 5 guy. I really like Colton Hood. Um, I think he's an inside outside corner. I see William Wiggins has him at 3. I can't argue with that. I think he's that good. Um, I definitely I definitely could have put him at 3, but I like Brandon just a little bit more, and I really like Terrell as a nickel guy. Like, I don't know if for you guys that have been following the show for a while, I was extremely high on Jordan Lewis coming out of that 2017 draft. Jordan Lewis fell to the 3rd round because people only saw him as a nickel, but Jordan Lewis was a really good cornerback. And I have Avion Terrell in that same type of mode. Just a feisty, athletic nickel corner who is not afraid of anything and is going to step in and make some plays when needed. Now, I've seen on some charts people are bringing up Chris Johnson, San Diego State, as a possible first round pick. I'll just be honest. I haven't watched a lot of them, so I couldn't really put them in my top 5. But based off the guys that I've really seen and paid attention to, these are the top 5 that I have. If you want to put Hood, if you want to swap McCoy, Sis, and Hood in any order you want, I'm not upset with that. But for me personally, I like Mansour and I like Terrell, my number 1, number 2. Now, when I talk about a Cowboys possible draft pick, now I think I think 1, 2, and 3 are probably. I think 1 will definitely be gone by the time we get to pick 12. If he's there, you run to the board. Um, I think 1, 2, and possibly 3 could be gone by the time you get to pick 20. Um, I don't like 4 and 5 enough to take in the first round. So we don't have a second round pick. So I'm looking at the 3rd round. If you didn't get a corner in first round, I think a possible pick for us is D'Angelo Pons out of Indiana. Now, if we go by what our defensive coordinator said in his interviews, size and traits are not going to be a major determining factor. D'Angelo Pons is 5'9", 41-inch vert, super strong, about as competitive of a cornerback as you'll find in this draft. If he was 5'11", he may he probably wouldn't push the top 5, but 6 or 7, I can make an argument for him. But 5'9", they pretty much said they wanna keep Bland outside, so if you need a nickel corner, I'm not afraid to put D'Angelo Pons in the nickel as a third-round pick. He's a great tackler. Like I said, he's a very competitive, feisty player. Um, as a cornerback, he got a ton of tackles. I just like the player, and if we don't get a cornerback in the first round, if we come around to the third round, I think despite the height, he may be your best option available. So I really like him as a possible third round pick. But again, if the first pick is available at 12 or 20, you almost got to run your card up to the podium. Cortland Finnegan, Cortland Finnegan had a screw loose. I don't think he's Cortland Finnegan, but he's somewhere between Jordan Lewis and Cortland Finnegan. I think that's safe to say. He's somewhere in between. I agree, Jeff, but if you go by what they said in interviews and what we've been hearing in reports, that's what it sounds like it's gonna be. Um, Russell Dyer says a lot of people think Downs will be there at 12. There's a possibility he will be there at 12, Dyer. Um, and we'll talk about this next week, but I'll go into it a little bit. When I look at this draft, and I don't think I've said this on the show before, but when you look at this draft and you look at drafts in general, teams look for position value and physical traits. Those are the top two things, and potential to be an all-star. So those are the top three things that teams look for. Um, when you look at a guy like Caleb Downs, I think he has the traits. Um, there are concerns about the injuries in terms of that knee, and people saying it's a degenerative knee position. So people look at that and think his knee is a ticking time bomb. Because of that, somebody might be afraid to take him in the top 10. But if you look at a team like a Kansas City who's just looking to acquire talent, Kansas City is my wild card in this draft. I don't know what they're gonna do. Um, I don't know if I said this last week or not. When I look at Kansas City, they're at the position where they know where they are right now in the draft. They're not gonna be there for the next 10 years as long as Mahomes is healthy. Now, because of that, do they take what they consider the best talent available and just say, we're gonna get a chance to grab this top tier talent that we've never had a chance to get before? That would be a Caleb Downs type guy. Just an all around, no flaws in this game position player. Injuries aside, they don't care because they got talent and they want to take advantage of it. Or do they say, Mahomes is out for the season? Mahomes has missed extended periods of time other years. Mahomes lost the Super Bowl because our tackles couldn't block. He got put out of the playoffs because his tackles couldn't block. Do they say, we're never going to have a chance to get the number one or number two tackle in college football and have a young bookend left tackle to grow for the rest of Mahomes' career? Do they say that? Or do they say, again, we're never going to pick this high again. We have the no question top running back available. Do we just take him? Even though we signed Kenneth Walker in offseason, do we take the best talent in the draft? Do they say Travis Kelce, while he just signed a contract, is really only a 1-year deal? Our offense relies heavily on the tight end position. There's a freak that runs a 4.4 at 6'6", who's a great blocker, in Sadiq. Do they draft him and say, maybe if you draft Sadiq, you give Travis Kelce 3 more years as your number 2 tight end? I don't know. They could go in all of these options. All these options make sense. To me, the Chiefs are the team that can throw a monkey wrench in the first round. They may say, you know what? Somebody offers us an offer we can't refuse, and we trade out. You never know. But I think you got to watch the Chiefs in terms of what they do. But I say all that to say Downs could be there at 12 because I personally think there's going to be 4 to 5 offensive players drafted in the top 11. And if you look at everybody's board, everybody else has that number at 3. I think the number's 5, minimum. The draft is funny that way. It could be 6, but I think 5 is going to be the number of offensive players drafted in the top 11. And we'll talk more about that next week. We're at 57 minutes. I still got 2 more positions of need to go through, so I want to try to get you guys out of here as close to 1 hour as possible. Keep those questions coming. Great question, Russell Dyer. Great comment. Great comment, William Wiggins. Jeff, thank you for your comments as well. William Wiggins says linebacker at 12, edge at 20, corner at 92. I would probably switch those first 2 William Wiggins. William Wiggins asked the question, if you got Downs and Styles at 12, who you taking? I don't think there's a chance that'll happen because I think Washington is taking Styles no matter what. But if lightning did strike and Downs and Styles are there at 12, I'm going to be hard-pressed to pass on Styles. And we'll find out in a second. Let's go to my number 2 position of need. I'm pretty sure you guys can guess which my top 2 are. But number 2 is outside linebacker / pass rusher. Let's go back again to my criteria. Returning starters. Neither one of our starters are returning. The production of the returning players. Ezra was a rookie. Sam Williams has done nothing. James Houston is, while he's a solid player, he's no more than a backup. And what's the other defensive end we signed? I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he's just a practice squad guy. And I still don't count Leofow as an outside linebacker. I just don't see it. I think they were premature in saying it. I think he's going to play inside. Injury concerns. Ezra's out right now, and as of today, he's penciled in as your starter. Don't have a quality guy who can step in for him, so that's a concern as well. Free agent signings. I like the Rashawn Gary signing. I think he's going to be a solid player. Christian Parker knows him well. I think he's going to be a very, very good guy in the run game, and I think he's good enough to get you 8 to 10 sacks. For some reason, the fan base thinks he's going to be like DeMarcus Lawrence and be a 1-2 sack guy, when for his entire career he's gotten at least 6. I think in this scheme he's going to be an 8 to 10 sack guy, so I really like him. Position depth. Sam Williams is a backup / practice / special teams guy. James Houston is a backup only. Ezra's hurt, so really All you got is Rashawn Gary. Again, experience of returning players. Outside of Rashawn Gary, not a lot of experience there. So let's go and look at my top 5 pass rushers in this draft. Again, feel free to debate. This is just my opinion. I'll give you guys my reasons why I have all these guys where they are. Number 1, I have Arvell Reese. I think from a trait standpoint, he's going to be the guy with the highest upside. Kind of has that Trayvon Walker for the Jags, a little bit of Micah Parsons, kind of a tall, angular guy, great speed, long arms. I think he has all the raw tools to be a solid pass rusher. Number 2, David Bailey. David Bailey is all pass rush. To me, he gives you nothing in terms of run game. That's kind of why I have Reese over him. But if you want a guy who's capable of getting you 10 to 12 sacks as a rookie, I think David Bailey's probably the best option on this list in terms of pure pass rusher. Everything else I have concerns about. Number 3, Ruben Bain. To be honest, I have Ruben Bain as my number 1 defensive end, but I'm not as concerned about the short arms as other people are. But I say that to say, watching him play, he's a high effort guy. He's a high motor guy. He plays with great bend and he plays with power. I don't think he's going to be a 10 sack guy in his career. I think a good comparison for Ruben Bain is actually the guy opposite him on our team, Rashawn Gary. I think Ruben Bain is going to come in and be a very solid outside linebacker defensive end, great against the run, capable of giving you 8 to 10 sacks maybe, but that's about where his ceiling is. But I would take him in a heartbeat. Number 4, Cassius Howell, another one of those guys in the David Bailey mold. Um, Pretty much just one of those athlete guys who has the skill set and the traits to get to the passer. I don't know if he gives you much outside of getting to the passer, but he has the traits to be pretty good at that. So he's good enough to go this high on my list. And then number 5 is Zion Young. I really like Zion Young. To me, he gives you everything Ruben Bain gives you, but in a slightly bigger package. A lot of people aren't talking about him right now, but I think he is worthy of being mentioned top 5 and a first round pick. Now, I have a possible draft pick of Ruben Bain. I think Bain falls to 12. I think when he gets to 12, he's going to be your best player available. And I think, to me, he's a no-brainer draft pick. The only person I would pick over Bain is the cornerback that I think will be available. I think the cornerback is the only one that could possibly be available that I would take over Bain. I don't think Styles will be available. Um, I don't think Downs will be available. So I think Bain, yeah, you gotta throw that in. I am a Missouri guy, so that lets you know I've watched a ton of Zion Young, and I like what I see. So yeah, these are my top 5 at outside linebacker slash pass rusher. I still think we acquire someone, Grenard or Brooks. They're going to sign someone. We'll talk about that first post draft. Russell Dyer. I agree with you. Personally, I think the signings are going to be. I think we're going to trade for Josh Sweat. If you connect the dots, he comes from Philly. He was there with Christian Parker. He knows the scheme. He can come in and be your vet guy. Uh, I think that the ties are just too strong. I believe he went to Georgia too. Let me check really quick. No, he went to Florida State. My mistake. My mistake, Mendoza. I'm trying to claim one of your Florida State guys to Georgia. But yeah, he played for Philly. He knows the scheme. I think the Cardinals are probably gonna draft Arvell Reese or David Bailey, whichever one the Jets don't take. So if they draft that guy, there's gonna be a log jam at that position. So they can either have their number 3 overall pick be a backup, or they can trade away the $18 million a year Josh Sweat to another team and get some more draft picks. I think they're gonna trade, and I think the Cowboys will be right there at the top of that list. The trade could happen by the end of day 1, to be honest. Day 2 at the latest, since we don't have anything going on until pick 92. I can see Jerry trying to get some relevance in day early in day 2. The Cardinals draft Bailey or Reese, then the Cowboys get that Josh Sweat trade going. So that's what I'm thinking. Um, in terms of linebacker, I think we're gonna probably draft one, or to be honest, I don't think we're gonna trade for Brooks. I think we're probably gonna pick up a guy off the street. It's gonna be just a guy who's smart, who can come in and call the plays. I don't think it'll be Bobby Wagner, but that could be an option. I think it's gonna be more like a Bobby Okereke type guy. It could be, let me look up free agents. The linebacker that played for the Raiders last year. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to look up his name. When I'm live, I forget names. He played for Tampa Bay. They didn't re-sign him. He went to the Raiders last year and had a bunch of tackles. And that linebacker was, if any, Devin White. I could see Devin White being an option. Um, I could see Bobby Okereke is probably my top option. I could see possibly, I don't know what his health looks like, but a Matt Milano is another smart linebacker that you can bring in. But for me, I think maybe Shaq Thompson. But for me, I think it's gonna be uh, number 3 Zach Cunningham, number 2 Devin White, number 1 Bobby Okereke. Those are the linebackers I'd be looking at post draft. There could be a trade that pops up because this draft is heavy in inside linebackers, and there's going to be a team that has a veteran linebacker who's going to draft the linebacker early, and that veteran may become available. But those are my top 3 signings. I don't think we trade for an inside linebacker. I think the trade is going to be at edge. All right, so we're at hour 9. I'm pretty sure you guys know number 1 position of need. I think this is probably a unanimous choice for all of Cowboys Nation, and that is at inside linebacker. Now, if you followed the show last week and you saw me on the Frankly Football podcast, I tried to make a case that inside linebacker is not as bad of a position as Cowboys fans think it is. But with that being said, it's still a very high position of need. Going back to my chart, um, I don't even know if you can say we have a returning starter because Overshown was injured for what, 13 weeks, and Kenneth Murray and Logan Wilson and Jack Sanborn are all gone. So technically, I would say we don't have a returning starter. But if you look at the production of returning players, Overshown gives you all of the potential in the world. When he plays on the field, he's electric with an emphasis on when he plays. Shamar James, rookie 5th round pick, 91 tackles. I think that was very good for what he was, but he's no more than a backup, a serviceable backup. Third Third thing, injury concerns. I just talked about Overshown. Um, Serious injury concerns. We didn't make any free agent signings or trades. Position depth, there's none there. We have Overshown. We have James. Uh, I like the kid we got from Syracuse last year, but he's a converted safety. We don't know what he is. I think that's all the linebackers we have. Oh, I still count Leo Fowles as inside linebacker. Position depth, experience of returning players. Outside of Overshown, nobody has experience really, and Overshown has a ton of injuries. Jeff is still on the Shazier train. I'm not upset with that. I just don't think it'll happen when I look at how things are going right now, Jeff. But I would not be upset if that were to happen. Let me go ahead and go back to my top 5 linebackers, and then we'll get out of here with our 12 minutes. So, my number 1 linebacker, Sonny Styles. I think, again, no-brainer, all the traits in the world. The production backs it up. Didn't miss any tackles last year. He's a downhill player. He can give you something in the pass rush game. I think in terms of an inside linebacker prospect, in terms of talent and traits, he may be one of the best inside linebacker prospects that we've seen in the past 5 years. Now, there are some other guys that are a little bit more cerebral than him, like your Roquan Smith or your Luke Kuechly's or your is Fred Warner the past 5 years? Fred Warner's probably not past 5 years, but Patrick Queen, there are some guys who are more cerebral than him, which is something that I highly covet at the linebacker position. But in terms of traits and physicality, there's probably not a better prospect than Sonny Style. Sonny Style is a bigger version of Overshown, and Overshown is electric when he's on the field. My number 2 linebacker, Jacob Rodriguez, Texas Tech. Um, I think he's an amazing wheel linebacker. He's great in space. He's great in coverage. He has great ball skills. We don't know what he is in terms of a Mike. I think he's good enough to be a Mike. For that reason, I have him as my number 2 linebacker because he has the skill set to be an amazing wheel linebacker who I think can convert to Mike with a little bit of time. Number 3 is CJ Allen. CJ Allen, I just brought up your Luke Kuechly's, I brought up your Patrick Queens, your Roquan Smiths. In terms of between the ears processing, middle linebacker, there's not a better linebacker in this draft than CJ Allen. I'll put his ability to be a field general up there with any linebacker that I just brought up in the past 5 years. The problem is we have some question marks about that athleticism. If you go by the tape, he's athletic enough to be a quality linebacker to me. I think while he may have some physical limitations, I think what he has between the ears makes up for that because of his ability to anticipate and process. So I'm not afraid to take CJ Allen as one of my linebackers. And that's why I have him as my number 3. Um, I think Jacob Rodriguez's athleticism and his ability to be a processor at Mike is better than CJ Allen's ability to be an athlete with his ability to process. If you wanted to flip 2 and 3, I wouldn't be upset, but I have Rodriguez a little bit higher. Number 4, Anthony Hill. Galladay is another one of those processor type linebackers from Cincinnati. One of those kind of hard nosed type guys. I really like him. But when I look at Anthony Hill gives you everything you want at linebacker. He can run sideline to sideline. He's good in space. He can give you some pass rush moves. He's a cerebral enough linebacker where if you wanted to put him at Mike, I think he could do well. So that's why I have him slightly above Galladay. Um, also, Hill is a slightly better athlete. Galladay is a 4.6 type runner, and Anthony Hill is flirting with a 4.4, and he has all those traits along with it. But yeah, Galladay is a little rough around the edges, but you can see it. You can see it in his tape. You can definitely see it in his tape. Anthony Hill, Galladay played well in space as well, but I just like Anthony Hill more in terms of athleticism. Um, Hill plays a little wild at times. But he's one of those what I would call a see ball, get ball type guy. No matter where you line him up at, he's gonna find a way to make a play on the ball. Um, he can play all three downs. If you want him to rush on third down, he can give you some rush. If you want him to cover on third down, he can cover. So I really like all five of these linebackers. And for me, the possible draft pick, I think, is Jacob Rodriguez. I'm still convinced that the draft is going to be for Dallas. We're going to take the best corner. We're going to take, well, let's not say best corner. We're going to take Mansour or the best pass rusher at 12. And then at 20 is going to be the best linebacker, no matter which one it is. So that's kind of where I think we are in terms of the draft. So we're at the end of the show. That's my top 5 positions of need. You got number 1, inside linebacker, number 2, outside linebacker, number 3, cornerback, number 4, running back, and number 5, wide receiver. When I look at our draft picks, I think picks 1, 2, and 3 are all going to be defense. Pick 4 is probably going to be who's there. I could see pick 4 being a second linebacker. I could see pick 4 being another corner. I could see pick 4 being a wide receiver. I think it all depends on who's there. I think all 3 of those 5th round picks will be used on offense. And then that last pick will just be whoever's available and whatever coach pounds the table the hardest. That's kind of how I see the draft going. We have 2 more Wednesdays before the NFL draft. So we're going to continue to dive deeper into the draft the past 2 weeks. Next week, we have a special show. I'm going to be bringing the guys of Frankly Football over to the Fifth Quarter podcast. They had me on their podcast a couple of weeks ago. So next week, I'll be returning the favor. What we're going to do is I just talked about how much of a wild card the first 12 picks are going to be. So instead of letting a computer generate it based off of whatever abstract calculations they have, I'm going to bring in 3 knowledgeable football fans, and we're each going to pick the top 12 picks. So, for example, I'll be picking the first pick, someone else will pick the second pick, someone else will pick the third pick. We're not going to talk in advance, so nobody knows who they're going to pick. We're going to put them on the clock right here. They're going to give their picks, and then from there, we're going to move on until we get to the 12th pick for the Cowboys. So I think this will be a good exercise to show using knowledgeable fans how these teams really think, because most people are just going by, this is what I want to happen to get to who I want at pick 12. We're all going to pick based off of who I think that team's going to pick at that point. So it should be a really good show. I hope you guys come back and join us. We may go at a special day or time next week based off their schedule. But if not, you can catch me here every Wednesday night at 8:30 Central Standard Time for the Fifth Quarter podcast. You can find us in the DC4L Facebook group. You can also find us on YouTube, and you can find us on X. So that's pretty much all we got for tonight's show. Thank you, everybody who joined us in the comments. Appreciate you, Mendoza, for joining us late. Jeff, William Wiggins, Russell Dyer. Thank you guys for all of your continued questions and comments. Derek Robinson, newcomer to the show. Hope you enjoy what you saw. Hope you come back and join us again next week. You had some great questions and comments as well. Uh, Thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate you tuning in. And as always, let's go Cowboys. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next week.